Hi guys, welcome back to Amy's Cooking. Thank you so much for spending your precious time watching this video. I know you have a lot of options out there, so I just want to say you guys are amazing and thank you so much for your support. And if you're new to my channel and if you like what you see, please don't forget to like and subscribe. So what I am going to show you today is a recipe for coconut pandan steam layer cake. These are a favorite of many. If you grew up around Asian communities, you will know or have had this. It is so yummy, so delicious. It has coconut cream in there. It has pandan extract with layers of mung beans. It is kind of chewy in texture, but it has a really nice crunch to it. And when you peel these layers apart, you know who you are, you know who I'm talking about. This is actually one of my favorite things to do every single time I eat these dessert is I peel them apart. Now that I'm a little bit older, guess what? My little girl is doing this as well. So if you really like what you see so far, let's go ahead and get our ingredients together and let's go ahead and make this delicious coconut pandan steam layer cake, or in Vietnamese, it is called Banh Da Lon. So I've done something a little different this time. I have added the brand that I use up on the left upper corner. So here's the mung beans. What you need to do with the mung beans, make sure you get the one that has no shells, and you want to rinse it until you get a clear water. And then after that, you're going to soak this at least overnight. Or if you don't have time, about 4 hours should be good enough. And we're going to steam it. You will know when your steamed mung beans are cooked. If you take a piece and you press it between your fingers, it should become powdery. Once it is fully steamed and cooked, go ahead and put it in a food processor. We will be blending this until we get a powder texture. So if you look here, you will see this is kind of how we want this to be, to make into a powder. And this takes about maybe 3 or 4 minutes on high blend. So we're going to go ahead and get our batter together. What we have here is the Savoy coconut cream, and we're going to need 800 milliliters of this cream. I like this brand because it is very flavorful and it's very creamy. To this, we are going to add 250 mLs of just room temperature water and also 430 grams of granulated white sugar. To balance out the sweetness, we'll add in 4 grams of salt. Go ahead and mix the solution. Try to dissolve as much of the sugar as you possibly can. Now, all of the measurements is in the description box below my video. I know I provided the measurements in grams and ml, and I know a lot of people request for English measurements. I get it, it's easier. We all have cups and spoons, but I think with every single new recipe that you're trying for the first time, it would just be best to use a digital scale so that it could be most accurate. Now it's time to add in your rice flour, which is 60 grams, and also 400 grams of tapioca starch. The tapioca starch is what gives it that classic chewy texture of this steam cake, but I've added the rice flour because it will also kind of gives it a balance crunch to it, and it won't make the cake super chewy. Now run it through a strainer so that you can get those clumps out. This batter needs to be absolutely smooth, and that's what gives a very silky, shiny look to this steam cake. Once you've run it through a strainer, you're gonna divide this batter into 3 portions. You will have 600 mLs of coconut solution batter and 600 mLs of the pandan flavor solution, and then the rest, which is about 700 mLs, that is going to be what we will combine to the mung bean powder. And it's a little bit more than the other two because when you add in the mung bean powder, it's going to make it a little bit thicker. That's why you need a little bit more liquid to it. So here I'm mixing the pandan flavor And this is going to be our mung bean solution here. So remember the powder mung bean, we're going to take that, we're going to add it to the coconut solution portion in the blender, and we are going to blend this on high for a couple of minutes. What you want to make is sort of a smoothie consistency with this batter. There will be clumps in there and it will be grainy, so you want to run it through a strainer again. It's a little thick, so you'll have to use a spatula to press down on the batter to get it through. But this is so essential that you do this, because the last thing you want to do is bite into this layer and it be grainy. To this, we're going to add 2 tablespoons, about 30 grams of sugar, and also a little bit of yellow food coloring. We want it to be a little bit more yellow when you steam it, otherwise it's going to come out super pale and it will not look pretty at all. Pay attention to the consistency of this solution. It should be a little bit runny. If you feel like yours is too thick and it's not like this, add in 30 mLs of room temperature water. It's really important. So now we have done all of our batter where we can go ahead and steam the cake. You need to steam this cake on high heat and make sure you have plenty of water on the bottom pan so that it can have enough water to steam this cake really well. Each layer is going to depend on you, how thick you want, how much batter you want, but it is approximately between 7 to 9 minutes for the first layer. Now you must cover it with a towel so that the water from that the condensation, the water that gets collected on your lid, when you take the lid off, it does not drip onto your cake. If you can see here, when I remove this, you will see some of the water from the lid fall onto the towel. That's you don't want that. And that's exactly why we're using the towel. So you want to check to make sure that each layer is fully cooked before you add on the next layer. Otherwise, if it's too watery or runny, then the next layer will get in there and you don't have distinct layers between one to the next. When you press down on it, it should be solid and it should be hard. It shouldn't be watery. At that point, you can go ahead and add in the next layer. Now, whether you want pandan first or you want your coconut first, it doesn't matter. But the mung bean layer should be in between the other two. It shouldn't be the first or the last layer because it is a little bit different in texture with the mung bean in there. It can kind of fall apart a little easier, so you want that layer to be in between. Again, the next layer is going to be you add 1 minute to each layer. So remember, the first layer is between 7 to 9 minutes. The next layer, you just add 1 extra minute. So every new layer that you add to steam, you want to add 1 extra minute. And again, you have to check between each layer to make sure it's fully cooked. And if you need to go another minute or two, that's perfectly fine. So here I'm adding in my last layer, which is the coconut. So how many ever layer you want your layer cake to be is absolutely up to you. Whether you want it to be 4 layers, 5 layers, 6 layers, all up to you. Now you have to let it cool completely before you remove it from your baking pan. Otherwise it will stick, it will not come out. So here is our finished product. Look at this. Look how silky and shiny. The layers are all perfectly. I even made 2. So the amount of ingredients we're using can actually give you 2 of these. I think these are 7-inch or 8-inch, and the first one is here there for there's like 4 or 5 layers in that, and I had enough to do another one. So the best way to cut these steam layer cake is by wrapping your knife with food wrap. That way when you cut into it, it doesn't stick to the knife. And you can cut this and whichever kind of shape or form that you like. It's just so yummy. It doesn't even matter as far as presentation is concerned. You can just cut it into strips. I like to cut them in little cubes, which I'll show you in a little bit here. But look at how chewy and flexible this thing is, and that's the way that it should be. If it's hard, it's not correct, or if it's too soggy or too flimsy or too chewy, that's not a good steam layer cake either. So as you can see here, see, cutting it with the wrap knife is just so much easier. It gives you the very smooth surface where the edge of where you cut. All right, so I hope that you guys enjoy this video. I promise you, you will love this recipe. If you follow all of the ingredients in this recipe and measure it exactly correct, it is going to come out perfect. I have tweaked this recipe so many times. My family loves it. It just is so well balanced between the chewiness with a little bit crunched, the taste, the flavor, the sweetness, the coconut cream, everything is there for you. So just follow the recipe exactly, okay? If you guys like this video and like what you've seen, please like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification button so that you'll be notified when I post my next video. If you have any questions or any comment, any critiques, any suggestions at all, I would love to hear from you. So please drop me a comment so that I can hear from you. And if you have any requests, anything at all, I don't mind at all. Again, thank you so much for watching.